Hello dear students, welcome to Genesis. I am starting a new chapter in this lecture, which is the reproductive system, and specially we are going to discuss the male reproductive system in today's lecture. Before I start, let us understand what is reproduction. Reproduction is a process of producing new individual. Now for this process to happen, there are two patterns. The first pattern is called asexual reproduction, so there are certain organisms who reproduce by asexual reproduction, and the second one is sexual reproduction. If I have to explain it in a very simple way to you, then the basic difference between asexual and sexual reproduction is, in asexual reproduction, the offspring produced looks quite similar to the parent. But in case of sexual reproduction, the offspring produced shows variation. Now as we go further, we will understand why is this happening. See, in case of asexual reproduction, the parent body, the entire parent body may be involved in producing a new offspring or a part of it. Like for example, in case of amoeba, the mother body divides to give two daughter cells. So the entire body is involved here. Whereas in case of hydra, a small bud gives out a new hydra. So the entire body is not involved, a small part of it. Now, so in both the examples that I have given, the offspring produced, they look very similar, if not identical, very similar to the parent. But the other pattern, in case of sexual reproduction, it is more complicated. Here it is not the entire parent body that is involved, but a very small unit of the parent body is involved in the reproduction, and that small unit is known as gamete, or they are also called sex cells. So the first important difference between sexual and asexual reproduction is, in case of asexual reproduction, no gametes are formed. That means there are no sex cells produced. But in case of sexual reproduction, gametes are formed. What are the two types of gametes that are involved in sexual reproduction? It is sperm, which is the male gamete, and ova, which is the female gamete. Now for these gametes to be produced in these individuals, there are special organs present. So there are organs in sexual reproducing organism who produce gametes. These organs are called gonads. Like for example, in male, human male, the gonad is testis, producing sperm, and in case of human female, the gonad is ovary, producing the gamete called egg or ova. The second difference between asexual and sexual reproduction is only one parent involved. There is only one parent involved in giving birth to the next offspring, whereas in this there are two parents involved. So the third difference is, there is no mixing of genetic material, because there is no concept here. There is only one parent involved, so there will be no concept of mixing of genetic material. Whereas in sexual reproduction, there will be mixing of genetic material from both the parents. And because of this, since there is no mixing, there is no variation. That means the offspring produced will look similar to the parent. Whereas in this case, since there is mixing of genetic material, the offspring shows variation. Next difference is, here in this process there are more number of offsprings produced, but in sexually reproducing organisms fewer number of offsprings are produced. Like in one amoeba divides to produce two, those two will again divide to produce four, and it keeps on increasing. With other organisms like Plasmodium, they divide and produce millions together. But in case of sexually reproducing organism, the number of offsprings are fewer. And the last difference is, asexual process is very rapid, whereas sexual reproduction is indicated as well. The pattern of reproduction in human beings is sexual. That means in this there are two parents involved, there will be gametes produced, there will be fusion of gametes, there will be variation. It is a slower process, and number of offspring produced would be fewer. Since there are two parents involved, so we will study two different reproductive systems. So we'll start with the male reproductive system first. The male reproductive system is divided into two parts. Primary part, that means which is directly producing the gamete, and accessory parts. They are very important, but they are not directly involved in production of the gamete. So the primary organ in male reproductive system that produce gamete is called the testis. They are two in number or one pair, and the gamete that they produce is called sperm. So you should have a very good understanding of what is gonad and what is gamete. Gonad is the organ that produces the gamete. Now let us understand the accessory parts. The accessory parts are the sperm duct, the accessory glands, penis and urethra. So now I'm going to show you the structure of the male reproductive system. Okay, this is a simplified diagram of the male reproductive system. In your boards, usually the diagram will be given and you will be asked to label. Remember one thing, as you label the diagrams, you should also know function of every single labeling that you are doing. This is the simplified diagram of male reproductive system, but here I have drawn male reproductive system, and along with it I have also shown the excretory system of male body. Now why is this? I will explain afterwards, but let let us first see the labelings one by one. So here is the kidney. The pipe or the duct that take out urine from the kidney is known as ureter. This enters into a bladder which is known as urinary bladder. Next, below the urinary bladder, there are a pair of testes. There is a spelling difference. If you are labeling one testis, then we write TES, TIS. But when you label two, then it becomes TES, TES. Then, around the testis, there is a bag-like structure which is called epididymis. From here comes out a duct which is known as the sperm duct, also called vas deferens. The sperm duct, if you see carefully, goes and joins with the pipe which is coming out of the bladder. This is the reason why I drew both. Because in case of male, the part of the body which is used for removing urine is also used for giving out sperm, and that common duct, okay, which carries both urine and sperm, is known as urethra. So you have to be very careful. The duct, when it is outside, is called sperm duct, but the moment this duct enters into the main organ of the male, which is called the penis, then you do not label it as sperm duct anymore. Then it becomes urethra, because now it is serving both two functions. One, to give out urine, another is for ejaculation of the sperm. So we are done with penis. We know what is urethra, epididymis, testis, sperm duct and vas deferens. Come to this side of the diagram. Here I have drawn three accessory glands. They are very important. Their functions are very important. The first one is seminal vesicle. The second one is prostate gland, and the third is called bulbourethral gland. You also have to remember the sequence. So the first one, seminal vesicle, followed by prostate gland, and third is bulbourethral gland. Now this is the entire diagram. So we are thorough with the labelings. Now let us discuss functions of each of these glands. Okay, so now let us know the function of the structures that we have labeled. So I will start with the male reproductive organ or the gonad, testis. Remember, they are two in number and they are present in a sac-like structure which is called the scrotum. This scrotum is outside the male body, but during the embryonic stage, that means during the time when the male baby is inside the mother's body, the testis is within the abdomen of the child. And right before birth, the testis descends from the abdomen into the scrotum through a part which is known as the inguinal canal. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because for the testis to produce sperm, since it's a gonad, its main function is to produce sperm, it requires a temperature which is 2 to 3 degrees Celsius less than the body temperature. So, if the testis remains within the abdomen of the male, the sperms will not be produced because of the high temperature. That is why through the inguinal cavity, right before the birth, the testis descends into the scrotum. The testis is followed by another membranous structure called epididymis. Function of epididymis is storage of the sperm that is produced here. Why storage? Because the sperm mature in the epididymis. The epididymis is divided into three parts. The initial part is upper, then middle and the hind epididymis, which finally opens up into this duct called the vas deferens or the sperm duct. Now see, the function of the sperm duct is to carry the sperms which are manufactured in the testis, then matured in the epididymis, from the epididymis to the structure called the penis. Why? Because penis is that organ which is in the male body for passing sperm as well as urine. So now as the sperm start to move from the epididymis into the penis, during this journey they come across three accessory glands. The first gland is the seminal vesicle, and function of this gland is to add fluid to the sperm. But why would it do that? This fluid is nutritive and it also helps in quicker transportation or easier transportation of sperm. The second gland is prostate gland, which also adds another fluid which is alkaline in nature. What is the function of this alkaline fluid? Remember, the female reproductive system is highly acidic. So when sperm is released in the female reproductive system, in that acidic environment, almost all of them will die. To overcome this situation, this alkaline fluid is added, which will neutralize the acidity of the female reproductive system and will increase chances or increase the survival rate of the sperms. The third gland is urethral gland, also known as Cowper's gland. Its main function is in lubricating the penis. So after these three fluids are added with sperm, now we do not call it sperm, we call it semen. So the fluid which comes out of the penis is not sperm, it is semen. Now as it enters into this, very clearly see, the moment the sperm duct enters into the penis, you cannot call it sperm duct anymore. Then you are going to call it urethra. Another thing, for our convenience, I have separated the two loops, right? If you can see, I have separated the sperm duct from the ureter, but in actual condition, it is not so. There is a loop which is formed between these. That means they loop over each other. The ureter and the sperm duct, they loop over each other. Now with this we finished testis, epididymis, sperm duct and the 3 accessory glands. Now let us go to the structure penis. It is a cylindrical and highly muscular structure, and it has sinuses. That means it has cavities in it. So when it is stimulated, blood rushes into these cavities, as a result of which this structure becomes erect, which is required during the copulation. Also for passing out urine. So this structure actually performs 2 functions for the male body. Now, so with this we have a fair idea of the various structures, that means the main organ as well as the accessory organs of the male reproductive system. Now I am going to show you the section of testis, and this is the longitudinal section of a testis, okay. So let us understand the labeling and how sperm gets produced into it. This is scrotum, so this is the bag which contains testis. Now when we make a section of the testis, it looks like this. That means the inner part of the testis, if you can see, it is divided into chambers, and these chambers are called lobule, and every single chamber contains a highly coiled structure which is known as the seminiferous tubules. So the sperm is produced in the seminiferous tubule. From here it moves to the efferent duct, then it goes to the upper epididymis, then middle epididymis, hind part of the epididymis, and finally into the sperm duct. Now the testis also performs another very important function for the male body, which is for the production of the male hormone called testosterone. Where exactly is this testosterone produced? Remember, this testosterone is produced by these cells which are known as the Leydig. These Leydig cells are also called interstitial cells, and their location is between the seminiferous tubules. So they act like packing cells, and they are the cells which are produce testosterone. So there are 2 structures within the testis, very important. One is the seminiferous tubule because it produces sperm, and another these Leydig cells or interstitial cells because they are involved in production of the testosterone. So this we now know in the male reproductive system. We know the gonad is testis, the gamete is sperm. Gonad is produced where? In the seminiferous tubule. The gonad also produces testosterone, which is produced by the Leydig cells. Then we know the accessory parts of the male reproductive system like epididymis, vas deferens, then penis, and the 3 accessory glands, which are the seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland. Like I have told you, you have to remember the labelings as well as the function of every single part that you have labeled. So in my next video, I am going to discuss the female reproductive system. Keep revising, subscribe my channel. Thank you.